Quantum manifestation isn't what you've been told. Carl Jung's hidden truth about creation. Reality is not merely what you see, it's what you believe. Carl Jung once said that until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. In today's video, quantum manifestation isn't what you've been told. Carl Jung's hidden truth about creation. We're diving deep into what true creation really means beyond wishful thinking. It's not about forcing the universe to give you what you want. It's about aligning your vibration, your beliefs, and your inner energy with the reality you wish to experience. So as you listen, I want you to reflect. Are you creating from fear or from faith? Comment below with, "I create from my higher self," if you're ready to manifest consciously and live from a place of spiritual wisdom. 1. The illusion of time and effort. Traditional manifestation techniques, visualizing, scripting, and affirming, have long been seen as sacred rituals for creating the life we desire. Yet few realize that these very practices often reinforce separation rather than unity. When you visualize something as coming, you subtly declare that it is not yet here. When you affirm, "I will receive," you unknowingly affirm lack. In truth, the universe does not respond to your words or your waiting. It responds to your alignment. The quantum field does not operate within the boundaries of time and effort. It flows through the timeless language of coherence, resonance, and energetic truth. In spirituality and spiritual awakening, you begin to see that reality is not something you chase, but something you harmonize with. The more you seek, the more you declare that you do not yet have. But when you embody what you desire, when your energy says, "I am it," the universe mirrors that wholeness back to you effortlessly. Thinking that you must wait, strive, or earn your desires creates a vibration of absence. It's like standing before a mirror and expecting it to smile before you do. The quantum field, much like that mirror, reflects only what you are, not what you hope to become. When you vibrate with impatience or doubt, you create more waiting and more reasons to doubt. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." In the same way, the more you resist the present moment by believing fulfillment lies in the future, the more you expand the distance between who you are and what you want. Manifestation is not about pulling something out of thin air. It is about remembering that you and your desire are two sides of the same consciousness, separated only by belief. Every desire you hold already exists in another layer of reality. The quantum field is infinite, and every possibility already vibrates within it. You do not need to chase it. You only need to match its frequency. Coherence is the bridge between thought and form. When your heart and mind move in harmony, when your emotions and beliefs sing the same note, the field responds instantly. This is why alignment feels effortless. It's not about control, it's about surrender. The more you trust your inner coherence, the more time begins to dissolve, and manifestation becomes immediate, not because it suddenly appeared, but because you finally tuned in. Many people confuse effort with energy. They think repeating affirmations or spending countless hours visualizing will bend the universe to their will. But the universe bends only to authenticity. You cannot trick energy with words. You must feel it. The quantum field reads emotion, not language. When you feel whole, grateful, and connected, you send out the signal that you already have what you desire. And because the universe has no concept of waiting, it responds now. True manifestation is not about trying harder. It's about becoming quieter, quiet enough to hear your own vibration returning to you as reality. In the journey of spiritual awakening, you come to see that creation is not an act of effort, but of remembrance. You do not create abundance. You remember that abundance has always surrounded you. You do not manifest love. You awaken to the truth that love has never left you. The illusion of time collapses when you live from coherence, when you stop asking when and start embodying now. This is the hidden truth Carl Jung hinted at. The unconscious mind already holds every possibility, every version of you. When you bring that knowing into consciousness, fate transforms into choice, and creation becomes effortless. The quantum field is not testing your patience, it is waiting for your recognition. When you align with that recognition, the illusion of waiting ends, and reality begins to flow from within you, not to you. If you truly understand that time is an illusion and creation flows effortlessly from your consciousness, then type below, I create beyond time. 2. Reality collapses through frequency, not force. Reality does not unfold gradually. It collapses in response to your frequency. This means you are not merely waiting for life to happen to you. You are continuously shaping it through the vibration you maintain. You don't attract reality, you select it. Every emotion you hold, every thought you repeat, is a form of communication with the quantum field. The universe listens not to your words, but to your energetic coherence. When your thoughts, emotions, and actions align in harmony, you stabilize a vibration so clear that reality collapses into form with speed and precision. This is why the more coherent your emotional frequency, the faster your intentions take shape. Your emotional state is the command center of creation. When your energy is scattered, when you oscillate between fear and faith, you send mixed signals to the field, and the collapse of potential into form becomes unstable. But when you hold a steady emotional tone, one of gratitude, love, clarity, or trust, you become a tuning fork, resonating with higher outcomes. You begin to notice how people respond differently, how opportunities flow more smoothly, and how the same world starts to mirror back a different version of itself. In this sense, spirituality is not about escaping reality. It is about refining your vibration so deeply that you start co-creating reality consciously rather than accidentally. The key to spiritual development lies in learning to hold coherence amid chaos. It's easy to feel aligned when things go your way, but mastery comes from maintaining emotional steadiness when external conditions test your faith. This is where energy meets discipline. Instead of reacting to fear or control, you practice attunement, breathing slowly, quieting your thoughts, and anchoring into the feeling of calm strength that already exists within you. The field does not respond to effort. It responds to frequency. The more you embody your desired state right now, the faster life reorganizes to reflect it. You can think of your inner world as a broadcasting station. Every thought, every emotion is a signal sent into the quantum sea. When your signal is filled with doubt or confusion, you tune yourself to experiences that reinforce that confusion. But when you consciously tune your frequency to clarity, abundance, or peace, life starts presenting circumstances that match it. Reality doesn't argue, it reflects. So, Your true power lies not in forcing results, but in aligning your frequency with what you wish to experience. This is why pushing, striving, or trying to control outcomes only delays manifestation. Force disrupts the field. Coherence commands it. To live from this awareness, begin by observing your dominant vibration throughout the day. Before you act, pause and ask yourself, what signal am I sending right now? If your body feels tense or your thoughts spiral, you are out of sync. Use that moment to recalibrate, breathe deeply, soften your chest, and return to the vibration of faith or gratitude. Each time you do this, you strengthen your energetic consistency. Spirituality is not about perfection. It is about returning to alignment more quickly each time you lose it. Over time, this becomes your natural state, and creation becomes effortless. True manifestation, then, is not magic, it's physics. The quantum field mirrors the emotional frequency you live in, not the desires you merely think about. When your energy becomes coherent, you stop chasing and start allowing. Life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a graceful unfolding of what was already yours. This is the essence of spiritual development, learning to stabilize your inner world so completely that the outer world has no choice but to align with it. Reality collapses through frequency, not force. And when you understand this, creation itself becomes an act of inner harmony. 3. Emotion is the true language of creation. Emotion is the true language of creation because the universe does not listen to words or thoughts. It listens to the vibration of how you feel. The quantum field, which is the invisible matrix connecting all things, does not react to your affirmations or mental wishes. It responds to your emotional frequency. Your emotion is the energetic voltage that powers your signal to creation. When you truly feel the emotion of already having your desire, when gratitude, love, and certainty rise within you, that vibration instantly collapses the distance between you and what you seek. In that moment, the reality you imagine aligns with your emotional state, and the universe rearranges itself to match the energy you are sending out. Carl Jung, whose work continues to inspire modern spiritual wisdom, understood that emotion is the bridge between the conscious and the unconscious mind. He said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." Your emotions are the voice of the unconscious. They tell the universe what you truly believe beyond words. You can think positively all day, but if deep down you feel fear, doubt, or unworthiness, that is the signal you are transmitting. Emotion is the magnetic field that surrounds every thought, shaping how the quantum field interprets your reality. When you change how you feel, you change what you attract, because emotion transforms thought into energetic instruction. Imagine words as the design of your intention, but emotion as the electricity that brings that design to life. Without the emotional charge, your thoughts are just blueprints without energy to manifest. This is why spiritual wisdom emphasizes feeling over thinking. You can repeat, "I am abundant," 1,000 times, but if your heart feels lack, the universe receives the frequency of lack, not abundance. Only when you embody the emotion of abundance, when your body believes it's already true, does the quantum field respond and reflect that experience back to you. It is not about convincing the universe. It is about convincing your nervous system that your desire already exists. Carl Jung believe that suppressed emotions distort our energy and block the flow of creation. Unhealed pain, resentment, or guilt become static interference in your signal to the universe. To manifest consciously, you must clear the emotional noise by bringing awareness to what you feel and transforming it. This is why self-awareness and healing are vital in spiritual awakening. The energy of fear must be transmuted into trust. The emotion of lack must be replaced by gratitude, and resistance must give way to surrender. The moment your emotions harmonize with the frequency of what you desire, the universe begins to reorganize reality around your new vibration. Quantum manifestation is not about forcing or chasing outcomes. It is about becoming the emotional match to them. Everything is energy, and as Einstein once said, match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but get that reality. The quantum field mirrors your emotional state. Your thoughts set direction, but your emotions provide the momentum. Creation is not linear. It is vibrational. You are constantly broadcasting your inner world into the outer world, whether you realize it or not. The more you feel joy, gratitude, and inner peace, the more you align with realities that contain those same frequencies. This is the hidden truth Carl Jung revealed through his study of the psyche. Emotion is the language through which the soul speaks to the universe, and when your inner world changes, your outer world must follow. Stay connected with our community of spiritual seekers by subscribing to Spiritual Wisdom. Here, we explore the deeper layers of consciousness and uncover the truth behind creation through the lens of Carl Jung. 4. Embodiment over effort. The body is not just a vessel. It is the antenna of manifestation, the bridge between your consciousness and the quantum field of creation. In spirituality, every cell of your being vibrates with energy that communicates directly with the universe. When your mind envisions abundance, but your body still clings to fear, the signal becomes distorted, weak, and fragmented. You can't attract peace while your body holds tension, or summon love while your heart is armored by past wounds. True spiritual awakening begins when the body and mind are no longer in conflict, but move in harmony, sending out a pure frequency that mirrors what you wish to create. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." To make your desires real, you must bring them down from the realm of thought into the language of your nervous system, because the universe doesn't listen to words, it listens to energy. When you breathe deeply, walk with presence, and feel gratitude pulsing through your veins, you begin to broadcast a frequency of alignment. The body becomes the living proof of belief, the physical echo of your inner knowing. Every breath you take is a conversation with creation. Every movement you make either strengthens or weakens the signal you send out. That's why manifestation isn't about effort, it's about embodiment. You don't fake it until you make it. You feel it until it becomes real. You allow your nervous system to register safety, joy, abundance, and love as your natural state. The more your body feels what your mind imagines, the more real it becomes in the quantum field. You are not trying to attract something external. You are becoming the vibration of that thing within yourself. In spirituality, everything is frequency. If your body vibrates in fear, you'll meet fear. If it vibrates in love, you'll meet love. This is why spiritual awakening is not about escaping your body to reach higher dimensions. It's about descending into your body to embody the divine fully. When you are aware of how you breathe, how you stand, how your heart beats when you think of your dreams, you begin to shape reality from the inside out. You stop chasing. You start embodying. You no longer visualize abundance as a future event. You breathe it now. You move with its confidence. You rest in its certainty. Carl Jung believed that wholeness is not achieved by rejecting parts of ourselves, but by integrating them. The same principle applies to manifestation. Integration creates magnetism. When your thoughts, emotions, and body are united in one vibration, the universe recognizes it as truth. The body becomes the sacred instrument through which creation plays its symphony. You don't command reality, you harmonize with it. In that harmony, everything you seek begins to seek you, because you have become its living reflection. That is the secret behind true manifestation. Not effort, not repetition, but embodiment, the art of feeling it until your very being sings in tune with the universe. 5. Reverse manifesting and the pull of the future. You are not truly walking toward your future. The future is already collapsing into you. It is not a destination somewhere ahead, but a frequency waiting for your alignment. When your vibration rises to match that higher version of yourself, life stops feeling like a chase. Instead, it becomes a pull, an effortless attraction toward what already belongs to you. The universe moves faster than thought, and the moment your inner energy resonates with your desired reality, it begins to draw you in like gravity. This is not imagination. It is the quantum rhythm of creation that Carl Jung hinted at through his exploration of synchronicity, the mysterious way in which outer events mirror the hidden structure of the inner world. Spirituality teaches that your future self is not a stranger, but an expanded version of your consciousness, gently calling you home. This alignment cannot be forced through excitement or constant striving. Peace is what opens the door. Stillness, not movement, is what creates real speed. The moment your mind softens into silence, your energy field becomes coherent enough to communicate with the deeper intelligence of existence. The universe is not impressed by noise. It responds to frequency. That is why spiritual development is not about chasing success, wealth, or recognition, but about becoming still enough to hear the subtle vibration of your true path. You manifest not by doing more, but by being in harmony with what you already are. This harmony doesn't come from wishful thinking. It comes from inner clarity, from quiet confidence that what is meant for you cannot miss you. Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." In quantum manifestation, that means the moment you bring awareness to the patterns hidden within your subconscious mind, you stop repeating the same future over and over again. The unseen forces of thought, emotion, and belief collapse into the visible field of matter through attention. The more conscious you become, the faster your reality rearranges itself to match your frequency. This is why spirituality and spiritual development require self-awareness. It is not the mind that manifests, but the consciousness behind it. The paradox is that surrender, not effort, accelerates creation. When you let go of chasing outcomes, you allow the magnetic current of destiny to pull you forward. What used to feel like resistance dissolves, and synchronicities appear where struggle once existed. In that state of inner peace, your energy no longer sends mixed signals to the universe. You stop trying to control the unfolding and start trusting the divine intelligence guiding it. The stiller you become, the faster everything moves, because now you are not opposing the flow. You are part of it. The lesson is timeless. The future is not out there waiting for you to catch it. It is already encoded within your being, waiting for you to remember. When you stop running, breathe deeply, and align your heart with the serenity of faith, the reality you long for begins to unfold naturally. The universe doesn't respond to your hurry, it responds to your harmony. Do you feel the pull of your future calling you? If you do, declare it boldly in the comments. I trust the universe is guiding me toward my destiny. 6. The paradox of acceleration. The paradox of acceleration reveals one of the most profound truths of spiritual wisdom. The harder you chase something, the further it slips away, and the more you try to force reality, the slower it responds. This is not merely philosophy, it's energetic law. When you chase, your frequency vibrates from lack, not creation. You are telling the universe, I don't have it, and that vibration keeps it out of reach. As Carl Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but grows in size. The more you struggle, the more resistance you build, and that resistance becomes the very wall between you and what you desire. The secret is not in acceleration, but in surrender, because surrender is not weakness, it is resonance. When you release control and fall into presence, you align with the frequency of coherence, and what once seemed distant begins to move towards you effortlessly. Coherence, not motion, is what collapses possibilities into form. When your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are scattered, the signal you send into the quantum field is distorted. You cannot manifest clarity from confusion or harmony from chaos. But when you align the heart and the mind into one rhythm, when your inner world hums in unity, creation responds instantly. The universe mirrors coherence because coherence is order, and order is the language of reality. You do not need to chase energy when you are the energy. Manifestation, in its truest form, is not an act of doing, it is an act of being. Carl Jung understood this through his exploration of the unconscious. He taught that the unconscious shapes our outer life until we bring it into awareness. Until you make the unconscious conscious, he said, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This means that the act of manifestation is not about attracting something new. It is about remembering who you already are. Spiritual wisdom teaches that the universe responds not to your words, but to your frequency. When you embody coherence, your entire being becomes a magnet for synchronicity. The external world reorganizes itself to reflect your inner state, and life begins to unfold with effortless precision. Surrender, then, is not giving up. It is giving in to the flow of existence. You stop trying to manipulate outcomes and begin to trust the rhythm of the universe. Presence becomes your fastest vehicle. Awareness becomes your bridge between thought and reality. The paradox is that stillness creates movement, and acceptance births change. When you stop grasping, you make space for grace. Your energy stops fighting against itself and begins to attract with ease. This is mastery, not the mastery of control, but the mastery of vibration. True quantum manifestation happens when your inner and outer worlds become one coherent field of awareness. It is not about forcing, proving, or rushing. It is about resonating, aligning, and allowing. You move not through effort, but through frequency. You realize that creation is not something you chase. It is something you tune into. The more you let go, the faster it comes. The less you control, the more you create. The path of spiritual wisdom, as Carl Jung hinted, is not in chasing light, but in becoming light itself. Not in seeking alignment, but in remembering that you already are the frequency the universe recognizes as truth. 7. The collapse moment. The collapse moment is not an ending. It is the quiet merging of desire and belief. The instant when your vibration no longer argues with your dream. In that moment, what you seek stops being something you chase and becomes something you naturally allow. Reality, obedient to your inner harmony, rearranges itself without struggle, like the universe taking a deep breath and exhaling alignment into your life. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist not only persists, but grows in size." Resistance is the tension between who you think you are and what your soul knows you're meant to experience. When that resistance dissolves, the far becomes near, the impossible becomes obvious, and the unseen takes form in front of you. This is not magic. It's the physics of spirituality, the natural law of a mind that has stopped contradicting its own creation. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack filled with fear, doubt, and old stories about why you cannot have what you want. Every step feels slow. Every goal seems miles away. But the moment you put that backpack down, when you stop defending your limitations, you realize the destination was always right beside you. The collapse moment is the dropping of that weight. It is the energetic click when your nervous system, thoughts, and soul all whisper the same truth. I am ready now. Reality rushes to meet you, not because it has changed, but because you finally have. In spirituality, this collapse represents the beginning of a new identity. It's not the universe changing its mind about you. It's you aligning your mind with the truth the universe has held all along. You are no longer vibrating at separation, but at unity. The moment your belief and desire become one frequency, your external world must echo that shift. Suddenly, people respond differently, doors open easily, and synchronicities multiply. These are not coincidences. They are reflections of coherence, proof that your inner and outer realities are now dancing to the same rhythm. Carl Jung's wisdom reminds us that the unconscious governs most of our lives until we bring it to light. The collapse moment is that illumination, the second you stop unconsciously pushing against your own intentions. It's the heart realizing that surrender is the highest form of control. To reach this, you do not need to try harder. You need to relax deeper. Notice where you say you believe in abundance, but still prepare for lack. Where you ask for love, but secretly fear rejection. Where you pray for peace, but nurture inner conflict. These are the vibrations that split your signal to the universe. And when you heal them, when you allow your thoughts, emotions, and identity to speak the same language, you create a resonance so pure that life can only respond with precision. The collapse moment is not about doing more, but about becoming still enough to feel the alignment that was always available. It is the alchemy of thought, emotion, and energy converging into form. When you reach this space, manifestation stops feeling like effort and starts feeling like remembering. You begin to understand that the universe was never testing you, it was tuning you. And each collapse is an initiation into higher awareness, a spiritual awakening that reveals how reality bends around belief. Every new level of consciousness invites another collapse, another timeline aligning with your highest potential. So when the next wave of resistance comes, greet it as a sign that another collapse is near. Breathe into it, honor it, and remind yourself that the universe is not withholding it, is organizing. The moment you stop contradicting your desire is the moment creation completes itself. Collapse is not destruction. It is birth. It is your soul crossing into a new dimension of truth, where what once felt far finally feels like home. To honor the power of your own awakening, take a moment to affirm it. Comment below, "I rise through the collapse," to remind yourself and others that every breakdown is simply the doorway to a greater breakthrough. 8. Integration and stabilization. After the collapse of your old self, when everything you once identified with falls apart, the real process of spirituality begins. Integration is not about becoming something new, but about living as the version of yourself who already has what you've desired consistently, calmly, and confidently. This is the stage where your spiritual development deepens, because it's no longer about visualizing or hoping, but about maintaining coherence and unshakable inner alignment between what you believe, how you feel, and the way you act. Without this coherence, the new timeline you've created can't hold. You may glimpse moments of transformation, but they'll fade unless your energy becomes stable enough to sustain them. To integrate is to stabilize your chosen frequency, to live in harmony with the vibration of what you've already called forth. You are not chasing the manifestation, you are remembering it. You are reuniting with the truth that you already carry the frequency of abundance, love, and peace within your own being. Carl Jung spoke of the sacred union between the conscious and the unconscious, the moment when your inner world and your outer reality merge into one. That's what true manifestation really is. It's not about reaching outward, but allowing the deeper self, the one who already knows, to guide the direction of your life effortlessly. In this stage, you stop reacting to life from fear, doubt, or impatience. You start responding from calm awareness. You no longer question whether it's working, you simply know. Coherence becomes your strength, your invisible power. Even when the outer world still reflects fragments of your old vibration, you hold your new frequency with quiet confidence. You trust the process because you understand that energy always precedes form. As your vibration stabilizes, your nervous system adjusts, your thoughts become clearer, and your emotions begin to reflect a deeper peace. That peace itself becomes the proof that your manifestation is real. Every time you choose stability over chaos, trust over panic, faith over resistance, you anchor your new reality more deeply. You realize that creation is not about effort or struggle. It's about remembrance. You are remembering your divine nature, the part of you that already exists beyond time and space. Manifestation, in its purest form, is not a pursuit, but a return to energetic truth. And so, each time you act, speak, and think from the version of you who already has it, you reinforce the coherence that keeps your new timeline alive. Integration is not a single event. It's a way of being. It is the daily decision to align with your higher self, even when it feels uncomfortable or uncertain. It is the practice of holding your energy steady while the old dissolves. Through that steadiness, you master the art of spiritual development and the ability to remain centered no matter what life presents. And in that stillness, your new world is born, not through force, but through resonance, because what matches your frequency cannot help but find its way to you. In the end, quantum manifestation is not about forcing the universe to obey your will. It's about aligning your inner frequency with divine order. As Carl Jung reminded us, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. The true act of creation begins when your thoughts, emotions, and soul are in harmony with the greater intelligence of life itself. If this message from spiritual wisdom inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss our next deep dive into the mysteries of consciousness and creation. Carl Jung. The moment you become obsessed with yourself, everything changes. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." In a world that constantly demands our attention, turning that focus inward can feel revolutionary. But what if the very act of becoming obsessed with yourself, your thoughts, patterns, and hidden motives wasn't selfish, but the first step toward real transformation? In today's episode from Spiritual Wisdom, we'll explore how deep self-awareness can completely change the way you see the world and your place in it. Have you ever experienced a moment when self-reflection shifted everything for you? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your insight might just inspire someone else's awakening. 1. True transformation begins when you turn inward. Most people live in the shadow of other people's opinions, constantly trying to fit into molds that were never meant for them. But the real miracle happens when you shift your obsession from how others see you to how deeply you understand yourself. This is not ego, it is awakening. When you begin to turn inward, to observe the landscapes of your own mind and emotions, something extraordinary begins to unfold. You start to see that your thoughts, reactions, and desires have been shaped by years of conditioning, and that your power lies not in trying to change others, but in knowing yourself so profoundly that external approval no longer defines your worth. Becoming constructively obsessed with self-understanding means falling in love with the process of self-inquiry. You begin to ask, why do I react this way? Instead of, what will they think of me? That simple shift transforms your life from a performance into a practice. You notice how your body tenses when you betray your truth, and how it relaxes when you honor it. You start listening to the whispers of your intuition, the subtle nudges that once went unnoticed beneath the noise of constant distraction. This is where spirituality becomes real, not in lofty ideas, but in the quiet moments when you choose awareness over autopilot, authenticity over acceptance. Every breath, every pause, every honest reflection becomes a doorway to spiritual awakening. True spirituality is not about escaping the world, but about meeting it with a deeper consciousness. When you understand yourself, you stop projecting your pain onto others. You stop mistaking chaos for connection or validation for love. You begin to realize that people's opinions are mirrors reflecting their own stories, not your identity. That realization frees you. You start to detach from the need to prove, impress, or defend because your inner world has become enough. And in that stillness, you discover a new kind of strength, the strength of inner alignment. As your awareness grows, you learn to observe your patterns without judgment. You see your fears, not as enemies, but as messengers pointing toward the parts of yourself that long to be healed. You meet your shadow with compassion and your light with humility. The more you understand your inner contradictions, the more you begin to live in harmony with them. And through this integration, your energy shifts. Your presence becomes magnetic, your words more intentional, and your actions more aligned. Others can feel it, even if they cannot name it. This is the natural byproduct of spiritual awakening. Peace that doesn't depend on circumstances, confidence that doesn't need attention, and joy that quietly radiates from self-knowledge. This inward journey is not a destination, but a daily devotion. You practice awareness through reflection, meditation, and honest self-talk. You start to measure success not by what you gain, but by what you release old fears, false identities, inherited expectations. You begin to see that every experience, pleasant or painful, is a lesson designed to bring you closer to your essence. And the more you commit to understanding yourself, the more you realize that life has been communicating with you all along through your emotions, your relationships, and even your challenges. The purpose of all of it is not to break you, but to bring you home to yourself. Comment below. I choose to look within. If you're ready to begin your true transformation. 2. Healthy self-obsession versus narcissism. Carl Jung once drew a vital distinction between selfishness and autonomy, teaching that true growth begins not in isolation from the world, but in understanding oneself so deeply that one's very presence enriches it. When you become healthily obsessed with yourself, it's not an act of ego, it's an act of awakening. It means nurturing your mind, emotions, spirit, and body to align with your highest potential, so you can serve the world from fullness rather than from emptiness. In spirituality, this is the essence of spiritual development. You stop seeking approval and begin embodying authenticity. Every thought, every emotional reaction, every inner realization becomes a part of your evolution. You start to see that knowing yourself is not selfish, it's sacred work. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." That realization is not merely poetic. It's a call to action for conscious living, where you take responsibility for your inner state and use it as a foundation for peace, purpose, and contribution. When you choose self-awareness, you choose integrity. You begin to recognize your patterns, confront your fears, and accept your emotions without judgment. This inner work transforms you into someone grounded, clear, and compassionate. You learn that peace does not come from controlling the world around you, but from mastering the world within you. In this sense, healthy self-obsession becomes a spiritual practice. It's about refining your inner instrument so that life's music can flow through you harmoniously. Unlike narcissism, which thrives on attention and validation, healthy self-focus draws its power from silence, reflection, and truth. You no longer chase validation because your worth is no longer negotiable. The more you grow inwardly, the less dependent you become on external praise. You radiate calm confidence, rooted in the knowing that your purpose is not to impress, but to express. This kind of spiritual development brings depth to every part of your existence. When challenges arise, you no longer see them as punishments, but as mirrors reflecting the parts of you that crave understanding. You start to treat your pain as a teacher, not an enemy, and your solitude as a sanctuary rather than a prison. By turning inward, you cultivate clarity. By embracing your shadow, you discover compassion. Jung's wisdom reminds us that no one can escape the task of self-knowledge. To live unconsciously is to live in chaos, but to live consciously is to align with divine order. You realize that your energy influences everything: the way you speak, create, and love. The more harmonious your inner world becomes, the more effortlessly you elevate the outer world around you. And so, healthy self-obsession is not about closing yourself off. It's about opening yourself up to the infinite potential that lives within. When you are spiritually awake, every breath, every thought, and every action becomes an expression of higher consciousness. You become both student and teacher of your own soul, learning through awareness and guiding through example. This is the highest form of service: to embody truth so deeply that your life itself becomes a message. Through this journey, you learn that self-awareness is not self-centeredness, it is self-mastery. And the greatest gift you can offer the world is a self that is whole, healed, and awakened. 3. The 4 dimensions of personal growth. The mind is the starting point of transformation, the invisible workshop where your life is quietly designed every single day. As Carl Jung taught, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Protect this inner space fiercely, for everything that enters it eventually shapes your reality. When you begin to feed your mind with truth, reflection, and intentional learning instead of endless noise, comparison, or distraction, you reclaim control over your destiny. Think of your thoughts as seeds. What you allow to take root will soon bloom into your habits, your mood, and your worldview. Feed your intellect with what elevates you. Choose silence over chaos, and let awareness replace automatic reaction. This simple act of protecting your mental space is the foundation of spiritual wisdom. For an awakened mind no longer follows the crowd. It creates its own direction. Your emotions, too, are not enemies to fight, but teachers to listen to. Jung reminded us that emotions are not caused by events, but by the interpretations we assign to them. When you learn to watch your feelings without judging them, you begin to see how they mirror your inner state. Anger reveals where boundaries have been crossed. Sadness shows you what your soul cherishes, and fear points towards something sacred you are meant to protect. The more you practice this awareness, the more emotional maturity replaces emotional reactivity. In every moment of discomfort, ask yourself, what meaning am I creating right now? That question shifts you from being a victim of life to a student of it. Over time, you will notice peace quietly replacing chaos, not because life has become easier, but because you have learned to respond with consciousness instead of reaction. Spirit is the deepest layer, the quiet essence that reminds you there is more to life than achievements, possessions, or approval. True fulfillment begins when you connect to purpose, when you ask yourself, why am I here? What truly matters? These questions act as light posts on the road of self-awareness. As Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." When your life is guided by meaning, decisions become clearer, distractions lose power, and even challenges transform into sacred assignments. This is the realm of spiritual awakening, when success is no longer defined by what you have, but by how aligned you are with your inner truth. Spiritual clarity brings coherence. Your thoughts, words, and actions begin to flow in harmony, and peace becomes your natural state. The body, often forgotten in the spiritual journey, is not a vessel to neglect, but a temple to honor. Physical vitality fuels mental sharpness and spiritual depth. Each act of care, exercise, rest, nourishment is an act of reverence toward life itself. Treat your body as sacred, not because of how it looks, but because of what it allows you to experience and create. Movement becomes a form of gratitude. Rest becomes an offering to clarity, and food becomes a way to sustain the energy that supports your spiritual path. The more disciplined you are with your physical well-being, the more balanced your inner world becomes. When these four dimensions of mind, emotions, spirit, and body work together, you step into the fullness of who you truly are. You think clearly, feel deeply, act purposefully, and live harmoniously. This is the essence of Carl Jung's teaching and the foundation of spiritual wisdom. Wholeness is not achieved by escaping any part of yourself, but by bringing all parts into conscious harmony. When you begin to cultivate this balance every day, even in small ways, your life transforms quietly from the inside out, and everything that once felt scattered finally begins to make sense. If this exploration of the four dimensions of personal growth has inspired you to look deeper within, make sure to subscribe to Spiritual Wisdom for more insights on spirituality and self-mastery. Your journey towards spiritual awakening starts from within. So stay connected and keep evolving with us. 4. The resistance you will face. When you start focusing on yourself, resistance begins to surface from others, from society, and even from the very voice inside your mind. People may begin to call you selfish, distant, or strange, because society has taught us that self-focus is a flaw instead of a form of healing. Yet, neglecting yourself is what truly drains you, leaving you resentful, tired, and spiritually disconnected. You can only give love, energy, and wisdom to others when you are filled within. The moment you look inward, you enter the sacred path of spirituality, where spiritual awakening is no longer an idea, it becomes your lived experience. You begin to see that caring for your inner world is not self-absorption, but self-alignment, not selfishness, but the foundation of real compassion. When you take time to nurture your own energy, your presence becomes a source of calm and light to those around you without you even trying. Still, your own mind will resist. It will whisper that you are wasting time, that you are being too focused on yourself, that you might lose people's approval. These thoughts are echoes of conditioning that trained you to measure your worth by how much you do for others. But spiritual growth means reversing that conditioning. You begin to see that love without self-respect is emptiness, and giving without renewal is exhaustion. The truth is, spirituality calls you to fill your own cup first, so that your giving comes from abundance, not depletion. When your inner world is balanced, every word, every act, and every silence radiates peace. That is the beginning of true spiritual awakening. The realization that your soul is not something to fix, but something to remember. Yet this remembrance often comes with pain. The path to awareness demands solitude, honesty, and courage. Friends may misunderstand your silence. Loved ones may not comprehend your need for space. They might think you have changed, and they will be right, you have. You are changing in the direction of truth. Jung called this process individuation, the transformation of a person into their most authentic self. It is not easy to walk away from patterns that once defined you, or to detach from identities that made you feel accepted. But every act of alignment, every no that honors your peace, and every yes that reflects your purpose brings you closer to wholeness. It is through this inner work that you begin to live from awareness instead of reaction, from truth instead of habit. As time passes, the resistance you once felt becomes revelation. You begin to see that solitude is not isolation. It is the temple where divine wisdom speaks. The fear that once held you back becomes your greatest teacher, showing you where your boundaries were weak and where your light needed tending. You realize that the more you fill yourself with love, clarity, and spiritual truth, the more naturally you inspire others to do the same. Your life becomes an expression of quiet strength. Your energy turns magnetic, and your spirit becomes untouchable by external chaos. When you become deeply devoted to understanding yourself, everything changes. Your relationships evolve, your priorities refine, your energy stabilizes. You stop chasing approval and start embodying peace. That is the moment when spirituality ceases to be a belief and becomes your way of being, when spiritual awakening turns resistance into rebirth and self-focus into the purest form of love. 5. Practical transformations. When you start turning inward and facing yourself with honesty and compassion, everything around you begins to change in subtle but profound ways. Jung called this process a practical transformation, a return of energy, clarity, and meaning through the practice of self-compassion. Many of his clients discovered that when they stopped judging their emotions and instead treated themselves with understanding, their minds grew quieter, their hearts softened, and their decisions became clearer. You begin to notice that what once drained you now teaches you. What once triggered you now reveals something valuable about your own growth. This kind of self-centeredness is not selfishness. It is a form of inner alignment that allows you to stand firmly in your own truth without collapsing under guilt or external pressure. As you cultivate this gentle focus on yourself, patience begins to grow naturally. You stop rushing to fix things and start allowing life to unfold at its own rhythm. Creativity flows more freely because you are no longer creating from fear or comparison, but from connection and authenticity. Genuine love begins to take root because it is no longer dependent on approval. It grows from your inner fullness. Your relationships deepen as you become more emotionally aware. Your conversations become softer, yet more truthful, and the energy in your home shifts from tension to peace. This is spirituality in action, not a distant ideal, but a living, breathing expression of spiritual development in your daily behavior and choices. When you practice self-compassion, you no longer seek perfection. Instead, you learn to work with your imperfections as sacred material for growth. You start forgiving yourself for past mistakes, learning from them without shame, and allowing yourself to evolve. You discover that clarity doesn't come from control, but from honesty. The more you understand yourself, your wounds, your desires, your limitations, the more capable you become of understanding others. Jung often said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." In this process, every act of self-acceptance becomes a quiet revolution. Every boundary you set becomes a declaration of peace. And every time you choose kindness over criticism, you reclaim lost fragments of your soul. You will notice that your world changes not because others suddenly behave differently, but because your perception becomes clearer. Energy once wasted on judgment and resentment is now available for creation, contribution, and connection. You no longer need chaos to feel alive. Meaning returns through simple, mindful acts, a shared meal, a creative project, a moment of stillness at the end of the day. As you become more centered, you bring harmony wherever you go. Your family feels safer around your calm energy. Your community benefits from your grounded presence, and your love becomes an anchor in a restless world. To apply this in your own life, begin small. Each morning, place a hand on your heart and remind yourself, "I will meet myself with honesty and kindness today." When challenges arise, instead of criticizing yourself, ask, "What is the most loving next step?" Protect your energy by saying no when something drains you and yes when it nourishes you. End each day by acknowledging one moment when you were patient, one when you were creative, and one when you chose love. These simple acts of awareness accumulate into transformation. Through them, your energy returns, your purpose sharpens, and your heart opens. And this is the essence of spirituality, not an escape from reality, but a deep engagement with life, where your self-understanding becomes the foundation of all genuine spiritual development. Do you agree that real growth begins when spiritual wisdom becomes practice, not theory? If you do, write it boldly in the comments. I live what I learn. 6. Practical tools for conscious living. Carl Jung taught that true transformation begins the moment you turn your attention inward, not out of vanity, but out of spiritual wisdom, the kind that reshapes your reality from within. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. This awakening begins when you give yourself what Jung might call sacred hours, 15 to 60 minutes each day, devoted entirely to your personal evolution. Whether you read something that feeds your soul, sit in meditation, move your body with mindfulness, or simply breathe in silence, you signal to your subconscious that your inner life matters. Over time, these small rituals shift your energy, grounding you in calm awareness even when the world around you feels uncertain. Consistency turns ordinary moments into sacred acts, reminding you that presence is not something to chase, but something to choose. Once a week, conduct what Jung called a life audit, an honest reflection on how your time aligns with your authentic values. Ask yourself, did I live in harmony with what truly matters to me? Write down where your energy went and whether it nourished or drained you. This simple act turns unconscious living into intentional living because, as Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Awareness gives you back the power to decide where your focus belongs. If you notice that your best hours were spent on distractions, forgive yourself and redirect your energy. If you find small habits that make you feel alive, writing, meditating, walking, protect them fiercely, for these are the roots of inner strength. Equally essential is learning the art of love boundaries, saying no to anything that doesn't honor your authentic self. Every yes that betrays your truth slows your individuation, the sacred process of becoming who you truly are. Jung once wrote, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." When you say no, you are not rejecting others. You are respecting your soul. Boundaries keep your energy sacred. They remind you that love is not endless sacrifice, but honest alignment. To make this real, practice graceful refusals. Thank you for thinking of me, but I can't give this my best right now. Notice how your energy begins to expand when it is no longer scattered by obligation. Your focus deepens, your creativity awakens, and your peace of mind grows stronger. These three practices, sacred hours, weekly reflection, and love boundaries work together as the foundation of conscious living. Your daily ritual nurtures your clarity. Your weekly audit sharpens your awareness, and your boundaries protect the space where transformation happens. As you integrate them, you begin to live not by reaction, but by intention. The shift is subtle but powerful. Your choices align with your values. Your energy flows where it truly matters, and life stops feeling like survival. It becomes a deliberate act of creation. The moment you become lovingly obsessed with your own truth, as Carl Jung's spiritual wisdom reveals, everything begins to change, not suddenly, but naturally, as morning light quietly replaces the dark. 7. The goal: individuation and wholeness. Carl Jung taught that the purpose of life is not to become perfect, but to become whole. Individuation is the sacred process through which the scattered fragments of your being finally meet one another and merge into unity. It is not a sudden revelation, but a slow awakening, the light of self-awareness spreading gently through the corridors of your inner world. When you stop chasing validation and start aligning your life with your true self, you step into a dimension of spirituality that feels both raw and liberating. You begin to sense that peace is not something to find outside, but something you awaken within by embracing every hidden aspect of who you are. Individuation demands honesty. It asks you to look into the shadow of the parts of you you've rejected, feared, or disowned, and to listen to them with compassion. Jung said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Each time you bring awareness to your hidden motives, repressed desires, or unhealed wounds, you reclaim power that was once trapped in fear. This is the essence of spiritual awakening, not becoming pure light, but integrating the light and darkness into a balanced, living whole. You realize that the traits you once condemned can become tools of growth when transformed through understanding. Anger can turn into assertiveness, sensitivity into intuition, and pain into empathy. As you integrate these fragments, your inner world begins to harmonize. You stop being torn between the person you show to the world and the one you secretly are. The endless need to please, impress, or prove starts to fade because you no longer build your worth on external approval. You understand that authenticity is your natural state and alignment is your birthright. When you act from this center, your choices no longer come from fear or guilt, but from clarity and inner truth. You start saying no without anxiety, yes without hesitation, and your peace no longer depends on circumstances, but on integrity. This transformation expresses itself in daily life in quiet yet profound ways. You begin to choose work that nourishes your purpose rather than merely feeding your ego. You attract relationships that honor your growth instead of mirroring your wounds. You treat your body not as an enemy to discipline, but as a sacred vessel for awareness. Even the simplest habits, breathing deeply before reacting, reflecting before deciding, resting before collapsing, become acts of spiritual wisdom. In time, you see that this inner alignment doesn't isolate you from the world, but connects you to it more genuinely. The deeper you walk this path, the more you recognize that spirituality is not an escape from humanity, but a return to it. It's the courage to hold pain without becoming bitter, to love without losing yourself, and to live truthfully even when it costs you comfort. You notice synchronicities, subtle signals that remind you you're in tune with something greater. Life begins to feel orchestrated by meaning rather than chaos. You no longer rush to fix everything. Instead, you trust the rhythm of your unfolding. Individuation is not perfection. It's the moment when all your contradictions learn to coexist in peace. It's realizing that wholeness isn't about being unbroken, but about embracing your cracks as places where light enters. When you center your life on your authentic self, you live with purpose, clarity, and serenity. This is what Jung meant by becoming whole. Not changing into someone else, but finally becoming yourself. And when that happens, everything about your relationships, your decisions, your sense of time and truth changes too, because you have remembered who you truly are. To honor your commitment to becoming whole, speak it into existence. Comment below, "I choose wholeness," to affirm your devotion to self-awareness and inspire others to walk the path of individuation with courage. When you finally turn your gaze inward, you stop chasing validation and begin cultivating true alignment with your soul. As Carl Jung taught, transformation begins the moment you become aware of yourself, when you realize that everything you've been seeking has always been within. If this message from spiritual wisdom inspired you, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you won't miss any of our upcoming videos that guide you deeper into your own awakening journey.